In sports, there is a moment that transcends the score. No aces, no match points, no trophy held high. Just a young athlete on a practice court stopping dead in her tracks. Not because of a mistake, but because something went perfectly right. Something so human it hit 2 million views before sunset and exploded to 10 million more by the time the clock struck midnight. This is where it begins. Not on center court, but a quiet practice spot at Rome's Foro Italico. On a warm May afternoon in 2026, a simple handwritten sign changed everything. Rome in May carries a special kind of magic. Those Foro Italico clay courts are a deep, burnt orange, a color that looks way too cinematic to be real. Umbrella pines line the grounds like a Renaissance masterpiece. When that late Mediterranean light hits the stadium, the entire place just starts to glow. It is easily one of the most stunning venues in tennis. For players arriving before the main draw, it's where they settle in and feel the clay. They shake off the jet lag and find their rhythm. Alex arrived in Rome carrying much more than just her racket bag. She brought massive momentum from Madrid, finally achieving something that had been building up inside her for a very long time. It was exactly what fans were waiting for, silencing the skeptics who whispered about pressure, expectations, and whether the hype was actually bigger than the player herself. She broke the curse. By fighting through the draw, she reminded the world that the girl from the Philippines, trained at the Nadal Academy, was no mere feel-good story. She was the real deal. So, when she landed in Rome, the hope following her was absolutely massive. The Filipino community in Italy, nurses, chefs, and workers across every industry had been counting down the days for this moment. These were the fans who woke up at 3 in the morning just to stream her matches live. People who had her name saved in their phones as our girl. Fans who felt, in a very deep way, something impossible to explain to anyone who has not lived abroad, that when she wins, it feels like they are all winning too. That May 3rd practice session was never meant to be an event. Usually, practice rounds do not even have tickets. No commentary, no theater, just work. A small group of reporters and early fans gathered by the courts that afternoon, mostly just out of habit. It is the way tennis fans drift toward anyone hitting, drawn in purely by the crisp sound of the ball. Professional cameras around the grounds were all aimed at the main stadiums, waiting for the real tournament action to start. But one person had a phone, and that phone was pointed in the right direction at the perfect moment. Alex stepped onto the court with that signature mix of focus and ease that elite athletes carry, already locked into the work ahead of her. She started her warm-up, but then something caught her eye. In a corner of the nearly empty stands, a small group had gathered. They were not loud or waving wildly. They were just there, the way Filipinos abroad often are, quietly present, carrying their love like something too precious to shout about. And one of them held a sign. Look, you have to understand the sign to realize why this story actually matters so much. This was no billboard or professional print. It was handmade, the kind of thing you put together the night before with whatever materials you have. Marker on cardboard. A bit uneven and imperfect, but completely sincere. Just 4 simple words written in Filipino. May pancit sabi. For anyone outside the culture, the confusion was instant. Within hours, the viral video's comment section blew up with international fans all asking the same question. What do noodles have to do with tennis? Well, the Filipinos in those comments definitely had the answer. They always do. Explaining their culture to the world is something the Filipino diaspora has done for years, and they have gotten really good at it. Here is the real meaning. In Filipino culture, pancit is more than just food. It is a symbol of celebration and welcome. You cook it when something great happens. You make it when someone finally comes home. The phrase does not just mean there are noodles ready to eat. It means come over. Something is waiting for you. We are ready to celebrate your success. You are not a stranger here. It is an invitation, a declaration that you truly belong somewhere, that there is a table with your name on it. No matter the distance or time away, the door is always wide open. That is what Alex saw when she paused mid-warm-up to read those words. She did not see a poster. She saw home. Her response was instant and totally unguarded. She laughed. It wasn't a polite smile or a professional wave to the crowd. It was a genuine, head-tilted laugh from somewhere real. She pointed at the sign and felt the connection. She put her hand over her heart. In that 15-second clip recorded on a phone and posted without any real expectations, something major just cracked open. The woman with the sign was Maria, a 34-year-old nurse from the Philippines who has been living in Rome for 7 years. She had never met Alex or spoken to her. She only ever watched her from a distance through a phone screen. Usually alone after a long shift, feeling that specific ache that comes with loving your home from so far away. I just wanted her to know she is not alone here, Maria said later in an anonymous interview to protect her privacy. I know there are Filipinos in Rome. We have homes here. I figured if she saw that sign, she might just smile. I never imagined it would blow up, she added in a soft voice. When she laughed and pointed at it, it felt like she was laughing with me, like she understood. I have been here 7 years. That was the first time I felt like someone from back home saw me. Read that again slowly. 7 years in Rome, and a 15-second reaction from a 20-year-old tennis player made her feel seen for the first time. That tells you everything you need to know about what Alex means to the Filipino community abroad. It also shows why this moment mattered more than any match win or ranking milestone ever could. By the time the video hit 2 million views, the comment section felt like a massive community gathering. Filipinos from every corner were checking in. London, Dubai, Singapore, Canada, Hong Kong, Japan, Saudi Arabia, Australia, and the United States. People with nothing in common except the country they left and the athlete they now claimed as their own. One person wrote, "I have been in London 12 years, haven't been home for Christmas in 5, but seeing Alex laugh made me feel home." A mother from Dubai wrote, "I left when my daughter was 2. She is 10 now. Alex helps me stay connected. That sign made me cry. I am in Singapore and do not even like tennis that much. But I watch Alex because she reminds me why I left and why I stay. She is our girl." These were not just comments. They were confessions. The kind of thing people say when something deep finally touches the part of them they have been keeping quiet. Alex absorbed every single word. The press conference the next morning was meant to be about tennis, strategy, and court preparation. Reporters filed in with their notebooks open and their typical tennis questions ready to go. But the room felt different that day. Everyone knew it. The first question came from a Filipino journalist. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were glassy. "Alex, how did you feel seeing that sign?" Alex did not reach for a rehearsed answer. She did not deflect or give the typical non-response athletes use to protect themselves in public. She simply answered with honesty. "I felt loved," she said. "I know that sounds simple, but it is the truth. I felt seen. I felt like I was not alone." She let that sit for a moment before continuing. "On tour, you are always moving, always arriving somewhere new and leaving a piece of yourself behind. You do not get to put down roots or feel like you belong anywhere for very long." She looked straight into the camera lens, speaking directly to the people she knew were watching from home. "When I saw that sign, I remembered that I belong somewhere. I belong to the Philippines. That never changes." The room went silent in that heavy way it does when something incredibly true is finally said aloud. Then a lighter question. "What did you think when you first actually read it?" Alex laughed again, the same laugh from the video. "Honestly, I got hungry. I hadn't thought about pancit in weeks. Suddenly, I was standing in the middle of my warm-up thinking about Filipino noodles." The room laughed with her, but then her face settled back into something far more serious. She said something that has been quoted and shared countless times across the internet since then. "If I can make an OFW smile or feel seen, that is worth more than any trophy." Let that sink in. She is only 20. She said that about a tennis match. Now, here is where the story shifts. Because Rome was not going to be like Madrid. Rome was going to be harder and more revealing. The Italian Open had finally begun. Philippine flags were everywhere in the stands, draped over shoulders and waving in the warm Roman air. Maria was there with her friends. The sign was raised again, without the surprise this time, but carrying so much more meaning. Chants of Laban Alex echoed through the grounds as she walked out to play. Her first opponent was a qualifier who had fought through 3 matches just to get here. She was dangerous because she had nothing to lose and everything to prove. On paper, this was a match Alex should win, but something was off from the very first game. Her movement, usually so instinctive, looked heavy and labored. Her first serve was landing inside the box barely half the time. The points she won felt forced. It was like she was working twice as hard to get half the result. The first set was over before the crowd even settled. 6-2 to her opponent. The second set was the same. At 3-0 down, Alex walked slowly to her chair. She leaned forward with her elbows on her knees and her head in her hands. The noisy crowd went silent. The physio came out for a medical timeout. Whatever was happening was going on inside her body, invisible to the cameras, and something she had probably been feeling for much longer than anyone watching could know. She stepped back on court and you could see the fight in her eyes. The heart was willing, but her body just wasn't keeping up anymore. Down 4-0, Alex walked to the net to face the umpire. The entire stadium went dead silent. Then, in a moment no one at the Foro Italico expected, she walked away. She called it, "I can't continue." 4 words. The signs and flags stopped waving. Alex headed for the tunnel with her head down. It was that heavy walk athletes do when the body finally breaks and there's nothing left to say. Just before she disappeared from sight, she stopped. She turned around and searched the stands until she finally found Maria, that woman with the handmade sign, the nurse who had lived in Rome for 7 long years. The stranger who made her laugh during practice and felt like home. Alex looked her way and waved. It wasn't the wave of a winner soaking up applause. It was a person saying, "I see you. I am sorry. Thank you." Maria started to cry. People around her broke down. From living rooms in the Philippines to overseas worker dorms across the world, everyone watching on their small screens was crying right along with her. It wasn't about the loss. It was about the grace she showed. Even while hurting, she still turned back for a fan. She had nothing left in the tank, yet she still found something for the woman with the sign. That is who Alex is. This is why it's more than just tennis. Injuries happen. People retire from matches all the time. Every pro athlete knows the crushing weight of having to quit before the match is actually over. It is easily one of the loneliest feelings in the world of sports. But what Alex did, that turn, that wave, that raw connection to one woman in a silent stadium, that meant everything. You can't coach that. You can't plan it or fake it. It's just real. It came from the same place as that laugh on the practice court, from something truly genuine at her core. The aftermath was,